Electric cars are many things. Quiet, fast, expensive, heavy, sometimes a little bit boring, yes, but they are many things. And if electric cars really are the future, and that is still up for debate, then it is truly with the masses that electric cars will need to be adopted by. Which is why today, starting from 8 lakh rupees and going up to almost 20 lakh rupees, we've got 3 of the most popular electric cars on sale. And guess what? They're all Tatas. Yup, last month Tata sold more EVs than MG, Mahindra, BYD, Citroën, Mercedes, Hyundai, BMW, Volvo, Kia, Audi and Porsche combined. And with these 3 being the reason for the sales, let's find out which one's worth your money. And we're going to do that with a race, not just a drag race, but a race. We're at a go-kart track, and as you can probably tell from those words, this is going to be interesting. The Nexon has the most horsepower, but the Tiago should be the quickest through the tight twists and turns. Can the Punch then be the winner with a mix of the two? Let's find out by setting a benchmark in it first. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the Punch now for the very first lap. I am in sport mode. I'm going to keep the AC on in all 3 cars, and yeah, let's go for it. Turn 1 is a bit tight, turn 2 flows through. And the hazard lights come on. Very impressive. Quick steering as well. We are on our flying lap now, so this one counts. Okay. Yeah. So the traction control doesn't go off, but it's not cutting power too bad, as you can probably hear from all the screeching that's going on. The hazard lights are working overtime, but we're at the last corner now. Brake, throttle, and finish. Okay, I don't know the time yet. We'll drive all 3 cars and then get a time for all 3 cars, but definitely felt fast. Traction control does not go off in the Punch, but it's not been too bad. I mean, it didn't cut power very significantly through corners. Steering was great, it handled through. I didn't hit over any tires. I think this is going to be tough to beat, if I'm very honest. It's got the pace and it really turns in very, very well. We've always said the Punch handles beautifully, and because of the Punch EV and it's the weight of the battery pack and the lower center of gravity, it's brilliant. I mean, you can actually honestly like sort of rotate the nose of the car in the corners, and it's pretty brilliant. And now we'll hop into the Tiago and see what that's like. Time for the second car. We're in the Tiago EV now, the smallest car, also the least powerful, but I have a feeling the clubbing of the fact that it is the smallest and that it doesn't have traction control might just make this the fastest among the 3. Anyways, sport mode, left foot on the brake, right on the throttle, and we go. Track feels much bigger when you're driving a Tiago. Hard brake into turn 3. And I'm trying to just be easy and gentle on the power. And full throttle, and I can hear the tires absolutely destroying themselves. But at least it's not cutting power and we're on the straight. Hard brake, ABS. The only shortcoming of the Tiago, I feel, except for the traction control, is just braking. The ABS kicks in way too early, maybe down to the skinnier tires compared to the other 2 cars. Whew! Yeah, it is definitely faster than the Punch through there. Hard brake, down to the last corner, finish line, and done. Okay, Tiago, again, out of breath here. Driving cars on a go-kart track is not the easiest thing to do. It did feel fast, for sure.
The only thing that might catch it out is brakes, strangely. I felt because this is a smaller car, the brakes might not be affected. But the e-base is kicking in like too aggressively, so it's sort of throwing me offline. But should be interesting between this and the Punch. Now it's time to hop into the Nexon and see what that's like. Okay, time for car number 3, the Nexon EV. I didn't mean to rhyme that, but I'm not very confident in this car because I drove a small car, then a smaller car, and now I'm in the Nexon EV. So yeah, should be an interesting lap for sure. Into sport mode, regen is off as it has been in all the 3 cars. And 3, 2, 1, oh. Man, I hate the E-shifter from Tata Motors on the Nexon. Anyways, we're finally now actually into drive. 3, 2, 1, and we go. Again, traction control does not go off here on the Nexon as well. Straight away, the steering feels so much slower than the Punch. Oh my God, this is a handful. The brakes on the Nexon EV are, the pedal is like really hard, really super hard. So very hard to judge the brakes here on the Nexon EV. And the traction control is strangely intrusive. I'm surprised I'm full throttle and it just doesn't give me power. Into turn 1. Okay, that was good, that was good, that was good. Full throttle, full throttle, full throttle. Brake, 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 brake. Brakes are definitely better than the Punch, just the pedal feel is off. Steering needs to be a faster rack for sure. This is too slow. Understeer, and as soon as I understeer and start to get back on the throttle, the traction control just cuts power. I think that's going to be a shortcoming of the Nexon, but it's definitely going to catch up on the straight, brake, and across the line. Oh, definitely a handful, the Nexon EV. Okay, that was a good lap in the Nexon, honestly. The only drawback I felt is that the brake pedal feel is bad. The brakes are great. Maybe it's just on this car because it's super hard. I don't remember it being so hard when I drove it for the first drive. Aside from that, traction control is strangely much more intrusive compared to the Punch. On the Punch, as soon as I was throttling out of the corners, it would let the wheels slip a little bit, catch power, let it slip a little bit, catch, and sort of do that. That's how good traction control systems work. On the Nexon right now, it's just basically just cutting power completely, and then as soon as it realizes, okay, the car is straight and it can put its power down, then it's giving me power. So I feel those are 2 shortcomings for the Nexon. The size has not been too much of a problem because we sort of maneuvered through it just fine. Anyways, let's check the results and find out.
Okay, I have the results for the very scientific test of speed, and at number 3, you can place your bets now, is the Tiago with a lap time of 44.7 seconds. Second comes the Nexon, a whole second faster at 43.7 seconds, and then it is the Punch that wins out with a lap time of 43.4 seconds, so 3/10 faster than the Nexon as well. Now the Punch I expected to win, but the Tiago in last is a bit of a surprise for me. Maybe it's the fact that the Tiago doesn't have traction control, so it can't put its power down cleanly. Smaller tires, smaller brakes, so I think all of that has made the Nexon the faster car on the track. But anyway, scientific or not, this test does show us that if you're trying to navigate through the city, it is the Punch that is going to be the fastest, despite what the numbers on paper might suggest. But which of these 3 cars offers the most range per rupee?
Well, the rupee for each variant is a bit complicated, but to make things fair, we'll take the top spec long-range variants of each car. And for those, the Nexon EV's 465km range cost Rs 4,191 per kilometer to buy. The Punch EV's 421km range cost Rs 3,679 per kilometer to buy. And the Tiago EV's 315km range cost Rs 3,774 per kilometer to buy as an upfront cost. But to be fair, the Nexon EV does offer a lot of kit on the inside for that cost. Space at the back isn't lavish like the XUV 400, but it is adequate. And then there's also all the usual stuff like ventilated seats, a sunroof, a big 12.3-inch touchscreen, and Tata's also loaded this with the Arcade.ev suite of apps, so you can watch movies or play games while this thing charges up. But fun and games aside, the Nexon EV could well be your only car. The 465km range translates to more like 280 to 300 kilometers in the real world. That's not enough to tour the country, but short trips outside the city with a charger either at the end of it or somewhere in the middle should be child's play. But if there is a charger at the end or the middle, then why not the Punch? Because with a real-world range of between 250 to 270 kilometers, all you need to do is find a hotel that's 20 or 30 kilometers closer to you, and you can save 4 lakh rupees. And it's not like the Punch misses out on any equipment either. Ventilated seats? Check. Sunroof? Check. Digital instrument cluster? Check. A smaller but just as functional screen? Check. Pretty much the only box the Punch doesn't check is space. Compared to the bigger Nexon, legroom for rear passengers is slightly lesser, and so is space in the boot for their luggage. But I want you to check with yourself. How often are you carrying around 4 adults? If the answer is very, then this is probably not the car for you. But if the answer is not very often, then the Punch might just be the hit that you need. But what if you rarely ever carry 4 people and you already have either a car for traveling outside the city, or you don't mind using, and I would suggest the petrol heads close their ears for this one, public transport?
Brother,
That's where the Tiago EV comes in. It can do 200 kilometers in the real world, which is plenty for many office commutes, grocery runs, or movie nights on one charge. It's also fairly quick. And another advantage of the Tiago EV and its smaller battery is that it takes almost half the time for the 10 to 100% charge on a slow charger compared to the other two. And that is something to factor in if you've got a usable socket at your home or your office. But while the Tiago EV scores on function, it loses on form. The outside is virtually unchanged from 2020, and while the design has aged well, the cabin hasn't. The layouts, the switchgear, the 90s calculator-style instrument cluster, all of it just seems so different from Tata Motors' more expensive cars today. For a lot of you though, that could just be what you're looking for. A small, fuss-free EV for the city. Full stop.
But if you want to start your electric journey, for most of you, the Punch EV is what I'd recommend. If your friends and family are often along for the ride and the ride tends to be a long one, the Nexon is more comfortable and packs that crucial extra bit of range, but it does come at a significant premium. And while the Tiago is perfectly alright for the city and the most affordable, it also feels like it is the most affordable. The Punch though has the crucial left hand right hook combination of range and space with an uppercut of features and a jab of price.
भाई आज ऑमलेट नहीं बनाऊंगा, आज तहलका ऑमलेट बनाऊंगा।